Eric, hey, congratulations for It Snows All the Time.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so such a dramatic, touching story. So tell us what sparked you to, put this story onto screen in the first place for yourself.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking that. We had dealt with Alzheimer's and dementia a lot in my family. Both of my grandmothers had it and passed away from it. And then my dad got it when he was 58. And as a producer and an actor, I was wondering, like, how can we try to tell a story to raise some awareness for this disease? And how do we also tell a story that maybe hasn't been told before or as much, with that being somebody much younger portrayed on screen having Alzheimer's or dementia? So that was really the I guess the original idea was, how do I tell my dad's story, and how do I tell it in a way that can hopefully help people understand this disease a little bit more? And we were able to get just such a great cast around the movie, and those actors who play my real life family, I think, really brought the real emotions to life, because it was about my dad and his battle with the disease, but it was also about how my family, and especially my mom, took care of my dad. And my mom was my dad's caregiver for 12 years. And a lot of people aren't familiar with the caregiver and what they go through to take care of somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia. So I wanted to make sure to honor, my family and those caregivers who are out there, who are taking care of people 24/7, who need that care every day. So that's kind of where it originally came from. And then I approached my mom and my dad, and I said, hey, I'd really like to tell this story. And it was with really their blessing that we went and we kind of set forth to make it. So
This is a tough subject to approach in the first place. How did you actually keep yourself together, because you have to live this, and then now you're trying to retell this story?
Yeah, well, so I had a lot of help around me. It was hard, and there's to pretend like it wasn't a difficult process. Like, I appreciate that you recognize that as I'm making a movie, I'm also living with my dad currently having the disease. And luckily, the people around the movie who worked really hard to get it made, from Jay to Brett Cullen, who signed on really early to play my dad, the other producer, Chad Bischoff, and Ben Drickey. I had these guys that I'd known for years. I hadn't known Brett for years, but when he came into my life, it felt like we were family, and we're still the dearest friends to this day. So if it weren't for all those people around me, there's no way that I could have done that. Because one, it always takes a village to make a movie or a TV show, a piece of art. But when it's about something so personal to me while I'm going through it, I definitely needed the support of those people who were committed to making something great, and also understood that there were times that I had to separate the two while having to mold them when I was on set. So it's like the business of making a movie, and I'm dealing with the emotions of my dad being sick. And I think one thing I want to really hit on is Brett Cullen literally came onto this movie for nothing. And he did it because his mom was going through Alzheimer's at the time. And when he found out and he read the story of my dad, I think he realized, oh, this was meant for me. And he said that the role challenged him and it scared him, and that's what drew him to it. And I really owe a lot to Brett for coming on and sticking with us early, because it's been a long process to made, but then to get it out through making a movie, and then you're going through the struggle of the disease. And so many people were always checking in on me. What can we do to help? How can we help you move this forward? How are you doing? And I think that it's interesting how we talk about mental health in this country. Mental health, of course, dementia, Alzheimer's, but also the mental health of people who are dealing with a loved one who has a disease that they know that person eventually will probably pass away from. And that's very daunting at times. So to have that support around me, I'm so incredibly grateful.
how did you bring Brett on board in the first place? You said you knew him from previously.
So no, I didn't know Brett. I knew his work. And we brought on our casting directors, Justine Hempy and Susan Paley Abramson. We had all kinds of ideas, and they were just amazing at giving us ideas for actors. And when they sent me Brett Cohen, I looked at the picture of him and I go, oh my God, first of all, I know his work. Secondly, God, he looks like my dad. And he literally looks like my dad. They're both 6'2". They're both blue-eyed. They're both big men. My dad was a big, physically, like almost imposing guy, but like just a gentle giant. And so when I met Brett in person, the writer Eric Watson and I met Brett for drinks, and I said, wow, this guy literally not only looks like my dad, but he also reminds me of my dad. And so I was all in the second that I met him, and hearing what his approach would be to the role, because not only did he sign on to the movie, but he actually, because we're an independent film and he wanted to really research the role, Brett flew himself to Omaha to spend time with my dad, to get his walk down, to get his mannerisms down, to get his speech down, to get his eye movement and his facial movements down and his dancing down. My dad, one of the last things he did that was active, and they say this with Alzheimer's, music is the last thing to go, our memory of music. My dad would just get up out of nowhere in the living room and just start dancing to the music. And Brett wanted to get that movement down. So he spent days with my dad. And then every day on set, we shot at my parents' house, some of the exterior shots. Brett would go knock on the door and ask my mom, hey, can I talk to Ed for a second? And he would go in and he would connect with my dad for a minute before he'd then go on to set. And that put him in it for the day. And so you can imagine the appreciation my family and I had that this man who was going to play our father, my brothers and I, for my mom, her husband, the fact that he spent his own money when he didn't have to fly there to spend time with my dad so he could get it right. And that was important to him.
Brett is such a national treasure, I swear.
He definitely is. And I'm so happy for him. You know, he's doing Winning Time on HBO, the Lakers series. And his role in Joker. I mean, he's just, and he's always stayed just Brett, you know, and called him. We talked yesterday, and he's just so excited about the movie coming out, and we all are. So
that is terrific to hear. Now, Eric, tell us, when you're adapting like a real life story onto screen, sometimes you have to change a few things. After all, you're still making a movie. Tell us what are some of the changes that you have from real life to a film like this.
Sure. Yeah. I appreciate you asking. There's always going to be like slight differences that are either for production purposes that aren't available to reenact something 100%, or just for the story that we're telling. How can we make sure that we're still telling something that people are going to follow and hopefully be entertained by? So I will say this: everything in the movie is in some way, shape, or form a real event that happened to my family, to my dad, and to me. So there's a scene in the movie, without giving it away, and people will figure this out. People with Alzheimer's, dementia, one of the symptoms is they'll get lost. They'll wander. They'll walk out of the house. They'll wander out, and they'll get lost driving. And that happened to my dad a lot. So there was a time where we went to a very, very large sporting event. My brothers and I took him to this huge sporting event, 40,000 people. And one minute we're sitting there having food and sipping on a beer with him, and the next thing you know, he just turns and he just walks off. And we're like, where's Dad? And it took us about 30 minutes to find him. And luckily it was in a very big public place, and there was security and police. It's an outdoor sporting event. It's during the day. So there were a lot of things that were a definite blessing that day, you know, that he was okay. So when we're making an independent film, due to timing purposes, budget constraints, we couldn't reenact a 40,000 person sporting event. So how do we then figure out how we can still keep the stakes up and create tension and dramatic effect for the movie? Oh, let's go on a camping trip. Let's go on a fishing trip, and let's have him, you know, wander off in a massive wooded area. And so that was how we were able to parallel what happened in real life to what happened in the movie. Same effect. Where's Dad? What happened? We had him. He was right here, and now he just wandered off. So that was the major thing that we changed for the movie.
Most excellent. And Erich, I know, you know, you lived it, you have to tell it, but now you also have to act in it. You know, being an actor, drawing, you know, this energy again. Could you tell us about that? You know, getting into that headspace.
Yeah. So again, I believe this. I think actors a lot of times are as good as their scene partner. I was so lucky to have these amazing, seasoned, successful, like talented actors around me. Brett, for one, he showed up every day, ready to go in every scene with me. Whatever the coverage was, he was right there. So Brett would also remind me at times, hey, you know, just remember, you can start each time at the beginning, and we can just work together, and we can just let these scenes flow, and let's just see how it goes. And he was great at that, because he knew that it was very personal, and my dad's like right inside, you know, while we're shooting out in the driveway I grew up in. So between Brett, Leslie Ann, Taryn, Sterling, you know, Jay, John Beasley, Tatiana, I mean, everybody was just so easy to work with in the way of they were ready every time they showed up, knew their lines. So that helped me a lot. From a personal standpoint, I think just trying to commit to being okay with reliving it. You know, I have a lot of family, I have a lot of friends. I believe in therapy. So I think that making sure that we honor where we're at. And for me, those scenes, some of them were really, really tough because I'm literally reliving things that had happened a year before or 2 years before. But then when I would step out of the scene, there was always somebody there to give me a hug and say, hey, we're doing all right. We're getting what we need. And I think that, you know, understanding this disease was important to everybody else there too. So they understood what I think was going through, and a lot of them could relate to it. A lot of our cast had family members that were going through Alzheimer's disease, so they understood and could relate to what I was going through, and that was so helpful in the process.
That's beautiful. And I don't want to forget to mention on Jay, your director, how he remind us how he captured that essence and guide you through this entire process.
Yeah, so Jay was committed. You know, he was on this thing from the beginning. We produced it together. He wrote the screenplay with Eric Watson. You know, I provided a story, and then he and Eric, you know, committed to sitting and writing. And they were great because they would run everything by me. Like, hey, if it's not a 40,000 person, you know, baseball game, could we do this in like a camping trip? Because don't you and your dad have the outdoors thing in common? Didn't you guys used to go on fishing trips when you guys were young? Yeah, we did. What if we made it a fishing trip between father and son? And what if we made a situation happen on that trip that yeah, I like that. So then they would write the scene, and then they would share it, and I would be able to, you know, give notes. And the great thing about them was they relied on me for that dialogue, because I could remember the exchanges between me and my dad, and me and my mom, and my brothers and I. So then when it came time to direct it, I think Jay had an understanding of my family's story. So I think once we got on set, it was just a very collaborative thing. And I think he was wearing a lot of hats too, being the writer, director, producer, and he was acting in it too. And so I'm very grateful to him for his extreme work ethic and for coming on this and helping get this movie made.
That's great. And is the truck still running?
You know what? It is. It's still running. My brother bought it from my mom. So my dad passed away last August, and you know, as hard as that has been, and it's been really hard, so many kind of silver linings that come from it. Strangely, after he died, we get a distribution deal on the movie, and now the movie's coming out almost a year to the day that he passed. And today is actually my mom and dad's wedding anniversary. And it would have been, let's see, number 48 for them. And this is my mom's first anniversary, you know, without my dad. And I talked to her this morning, and, you know, and she's having a tough day. And so there's things like the truck where when I see it, it's a symbol of my dad. He bought that truck. I can remember being a tiny little boy and him picking my brother and I up from school and us piling into that front seat with him. And so to get the truck running for the movie, and then for my brother to then buy it from my mom, and he's in the process now of, like, you know, refurbishing it and fixing it up, and it still runs. You know, we went for a ride in it last summer. When I go back to see I'm actually going back this coming weekend for my mom's birthday, and I'm going to see if, you know, Big Brother wants to take the truck for a little spin. So
that is wonderful. I hope you guys keep that truck for a very, very long time.
It'll stay in the family forever.
Well, Erich, I've taken a lot of your time already. I appreciate you telling this really tough story and personal story onto screen. I am sorry to hear, you know, your father departed, and hopefully I want to say that he gets a chance to watch it up there or wherever he is, you know, your film, and enjoy this story in the end.
You know, I can tell. I get a kind of a feeling about people. I appreciate your feelings about this. I can tell, like, that it's an affecting thing, and I appreciate it. And I want to say thank you for watching it. Thank you for the time to help us thank you for helping us tell the story and get the story out there, because I really think it's important for people to have some awareness of this disease, have some education, and hopefully they'll be inspired by a family that actually came closer together in a difficult situation. So I just want to thank you for taking the time this morning, because I know you're busy. You got Comic-Con coming up. So, you know, I just want to say thanks for taking the time today and again, helping us get the word out about this. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
No, thank you. Appreciate for bringing out this story. Hopefully we get to do this next time, Erich.
I'd love that. Anytime. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.